How is it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be giving my thoughts and feelings going into round one against the Wild. So, let's get right into it. So I'm doing this just off the cuff, no notes, nothing. I'm just going to give my honest opinions going in. I think the Golden Knights have a good chance of winning this series. And I don't know if I'd feel better if they were playing St. Louis. Because considering how St. Louis has played the last few weeks, St. Louis looks like a wagon right now, a little bit going into the playoffs, and I don't know if I'd want to play that. I think St. Louis is going to give Colorado a hell of a series. I will be shocked if they go out in anything less than 6 games. Just with the way that they're talking the series up, the way that Ryan O'Reilly's talked about the series. When your captain talks about the series like that and about how confident the team is, I think St. Louis is going to give Colorado at least a run for their money. I don't think they're going to get swept, and I don't think they're going out in 5. It's going to be a tough series for Colorado. So, I mean, the Golden Knights did very well against St. Louis this year, but it's going to be interesting to see who makes it to that second round. So, focusing more on the Knights series, the Wild have played not a great last couple games going into the playoffs, at least their record-wise. I know they played St. Louis, but St. Louis pretty dominant against them. There was the one game with the Wild where they went up 3-0 on St. Louis and lost 7-3. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Golden Knights do, because I think the main things that the Golden Knights need to do, they can beat the Wild, and I think that in this series, they can beat the Wild. I think they have a very good chance. I'm pretty decently confident that they can go into the series and win. However, that is if Max Pacioretty, Alec Martinez, and Alex Tuch are playing. I haven't heard any updates today. I really hope Pacioretty and Martinez are playing. I know Ryan Reeves is coming back. He will be playing Game 1. I'm concerned about Pacioretty and Martinez mainly because do you want to go into a playoff series against the team that you did the worst against in the regular season out of every other team you played, and you don't have your top goal scorer or your best defensive defenseman who can even put the puck in the net sometimes? Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I think that the Golden Knights are very disadvantaged in this series without Pacioretty and without Martinez. Now, Tuch, from what I understand, it was just a little tweak in the last game of the season. He should be back. He should be. Another person I'm a little concerned about, Tomas Nosek. He hasn't played in a few weeks. I hope he's okay. I hope he can play. I doubt he's playing Game 1. If there's any person I have 100% certainty they are not playing Game 1 is Tomas Nosek. But, yeah, I think that the Golden Knights, if Pacioretty and Martinez are playing, if Tuch's playing, if everyone's fine going in, I think the Golden Knights can win this series. And depending on how it goes, if they can figure out how to shut down the Wild, I mean, they played them 8 times. And of those 8 times, I'd say in 5 of those games, the Golden Knights were the better team for most of the game. Now, the last, 4 times the Golden Knights have played the Wild have come back. They cannot do that. They cannot do that. There were, 2 games where they had a 1-goal lead and the Wild just scored and tied up, and then they scored again seconds later to take the lead away? Yeah, you can't allow that. So, considering the history of the last few games that the Golden Knights have played against the Wild, the main person they need to shut down is that Kaprizov line. I don't care who you have to put on him. If you have every shift Kaprizov's out there, if you go, okay, Revo, kill him, you have to put someone on Kaprizov every time he's on the ice, because if you don't, you're going to suffer. And Matt Zuccarello is another very good player, and he has had great chemistry with Kirill Kaprizov this season. So just because you have a guy pegged on Kaprizov every second does not mean you can forget about Matt Zuccarello, because both those players have done a lot of damage to the Golden Knights throughout this regular season. So that's your main strategy. Shut down that line. If you shut down that line, you can win this series pretty easily, because the Wild this season have kind of been carried by that line. Now, the Wild are still a good team. Don't get me wrong. They have depth. They have a lot of depth scoring. But they've been really carried by that Kaprizov line. That line has given them energy every time they're on the ice. So you need to figure out how to shut down that line over a 7-game series. You need to get through that Wild defense. That's another main point. One thing the Golden Knights struggled with against the Wild this season really was scoring. I know they had 2 5-goal games against the Wild. 2 out of 8 when you only won 3 of them. And one of those 5-goal games, you lost. So you cannot do that against the Wild. You need to be able to put up goals against the Wild. And I understand it's the playoffs and you're not going to get those 5-goal games, but you need to get 3. You need to get 3. And if the Wild tie up the game, you need to stay focused. You cannot allow them to score 16 seconds later, 15 seconds later, 10 seconds later. You cannot allow the Wild to get those 2 quick goals that the Wild have routinely done against the Golden Knights this season. It seems like every time the Wild tie up the game, they have the leading goal 15 seconds later. So yeah, they really need to work on getting through that defense and holding up their own defense and staying focused if anything goes wrong. Lastly, I'm certain that Cam Talbot will be the starting goalie for the Wild. And for the Golden Knights, I'm certain Fleury will be playing game 1. Marc-Andre Fleury will be playing game 1 against the Wild. Now, I give it a 10 to 20% chance that they will be doing a goalie rotation, but they didn't do it in last year's playoffs. And I think Fleury this season has really earned those playoff starts. Just like last season, Robin Lehner had the better stats and was the better goalie last season. So Robin Lehner got the most games in the playoffs. So this season, Fleury was the better goaltender and had the better numbers. So Fleury should be starting in the playoffs. So, yeah. Fleury has been great this season. I want him to keep it up. Fleury needs another cup, and he wants to bring a cup here. So, yeah, let's do it, Fleury. So Fleury has been great all season. I doubt he's going to be bad in the playoffs. And if he's bad, who do you got behind him? Robin Lehner, another top 10 goalie in the league. The Golden Knights have a very good goalie tandem, and if any, that makes it very easy for if a goalie has a bad performance, I'm sure the next game, it's the other guy going in. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goalie tandem shakes out. And I think Fleury will get more far. I think Leonard does play in the playoffs, but I think Fleury is going to be the one to carry the Golden Knights most of the way should they make it through the first round. So, not looking ahead, focusing mostly on the Wild. The Golden Knights, their main thing that they need to do is get through the Wild defense. That was the biggest struggle through the regular season. If they get through the defense, if Pacioretty's playing, if Martinez is playing, and if they can keep focused when the Wild score, the Golden Knights have an excellent chance of winning this series. And I think that in the end, the Golden Knights will win. I know that might be a little bit of a biased opinion, but if you look at the records and you look at how the teams played against other teams this season, I know that the Wild have won the majority, but that's in the regular season. Playoffs is an entirely different animal. And yeah, so I think the Golden Knights come out of this series with a win. I mean, obviously, I'm hoping for that, but I think they have this is a really good test. I think this series is a really good test because if they can get through this series, I think they can beat whoever they may meet in the second round. See, I've never been one to want the easy route through the playoffs if I have a good team, because I think one of the problems last season with the playoffs was they played Chicago and Vancouver. Now, nothing against Vancouver, but they were carried through games 5, 6, and 7 because of Thatcher Demko. They were carried by goaltending, and because of that, It lowered the Golden Knights' confidence in their scoring ability. That's the only reason they lost to the Stars. But because of that, because they played two teams that they outclassed in every way in the first two rounds, they were not ready for a real team like the Stars in the conference finals. So if you play Minnesota and you play, say, Colorado, or if St. Louis is on fire, you played him in the second round. And should you make it to the third round, I'll go Toronto. Or I don't know if they can play Toronto. I'm not sure who the Golden Knights... There's three teams that they can't play. I'm pretty sure it's Carolina, Florida, and there's one other team. I think it's Toronto, but I'm not certain. But you're going to play a real team in the third round no matter what. So yeah, could you imagine if they play Tampa? Like, you need to... If this is the big test series. If the Golden Knights win this series, they have an excellent chance of making it not only through the second round, but through the third round as well, because this is the best series to prepare them for what's going to be on the rest of the playoffs. This is going to be a rigorous series. It's going to be a tough series. I go Golden Knights. I think they could win it, and I don't think they win it in 4 or 5. I think this is going to go 6 or 7 games. It's going to be a fun series, hopefully. And hopefully the Golden Knights can stay healthy enough to, if they win this series, survive throughout the rest of the playoffs. But that is it for my thoughts and feelings going into the series against the Wild. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to get my thoughts on the game during the game, you can follow me on Twitter at 2_pad. And that is it for this one, guys. I will see you next time.